Welcome to the eCommerce Profitability Show, a podcast by Link My Books. We speak with profitable e-commerce store owners and experts to help your e-commerce business become profitable. Because revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. I'm your host, Dan Little.
Welcome to the eCommerce Profitability Show. Joining us today is Neil Twa, co-founder and CEO of Voltage Holdings. He's helped thousands and earned billions in e-commerce brands, consultant and specialising in Amazon and FBA, among others. He's an author, a mentor, and a speaker. Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. So let's jump straight in. So can you tell me about your career, how your motivations have changed along the way?
Yeah, there's careers and there's business building, and then there's being a business owner. Those are all kind of different stages. I had that little phase of entrepreneurialism when I jumped out of the corporate world in 2007. So I'm about 17 years into this now, and it's been a ride. I ended up in different locations than I would have thought. And if I'd planned on trying to get here, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at. I just rode the wave through opportunities and didn't say no to some things, which was both good and bad, and failed up in a number of ways, both in life and business. And it's led me to I call it my home ground now, which is e-commerce. I've been doing that since about 2012, focused on it. To some degree, I was in e-commerce back when I started this whole thing. I got into lead gen and marketing and affiliate marketing, which led me into physical products and goods-based e-commerce, which kind of is where I've stayed for the last 12 years. That's really been my main focus, is private label brands, starting on them out on Amazon, incubating them into Amazon and proving their market share, and then taking them to other channels beyond Amazon and continue to expand that brand out. So it's been a fun ride. Not where I thought I would have started off as a 16-year-old kid playing on what was at that point the boards and AOL boards and dial-up modems way back when.
Yeah, that's funny. Actually, I was just talking to my wife yesterday about MSN and back in the day when you used to chat on MSN.
Well, it was a crazy time. The 486 DX280 machines, and we thought we were crushing it with the 16 megabits of hard drive space. And yeah, it was awesome. And floppy disks.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So my understanding is that you're not only growing your own private label brands, but you're also doing some incubator for your sort of investing in other brands as well. Tell me a little bit more about that. What sort of businesses have you invested in, and what sort of successes have they seen?
Yeah, I've invested in high tech and oil and gas. We've invested in startups and patents. We've invested in physical products and digital goods along the way. Some have come out successful and others have failed. The digital to physical product world we had a patent on a product that was going to help with wireline communications and wireline power grid management, and got a little too far leveraged into that with some partners who weren't operating in the best, let's say, mindset. And that forced me to have a business bankruptcy and caused me to restart and redefine my life and decide what I want to be when I grew up. And so that was quite a change. Didn't expect that, but that's what happens in life. And you go too far in business, and you learn a lesson. Call it experience, right? But I've invested in products and brands, anything from home and kitchen to outdoors and sporting goods. We've got companies doing all kinds of things in the space of e-commerce and physical products. And this year we're on deck to purchase 5 more companies. We're looking at purchasing one right now that has an outdoor van life opportunity to it. It's about vans and the products all around people who want to be nomadic. And so it's a cool product opportunity. We're going through due diligence on that one right now. And then we do, as you say, incubate brands either through the process of bringing them to Amazon if they are not currently on the Amazon channel and taking advantage of it profitably, or starting them on the Amazon channel and bringing them up with new products and new opportunities to build a brand. And do it in a relative amount of time, 3 to 5 years, realistically. Everybody wants 3 to 5 months or 3 to 5 minutes, but that's not exactly how e-commerce works. It feels like it to some people. 3 years to an overnight success or 18 years to an overnight success. But we really are looking for product opportunities that drive profitability and interest in what we like, what we do, or are familiar with, and then really don't invest in things that we don't know.
Yeah. So are there any areas that you'd like to invest in that you haven't been able to yet?
That's a great question. No one's ever asked me the question that way. I'm looking for quite a few small properties right now. I want to challenge myself and just keep honing my marketing skills and stay on top of things. And so one way to do that is to look for a small e-com shop or something that's got off the ground a little bit, proven some initial market test phase, and then see if I can blow it up. So I'm looking at a couple of stores right now that have some products that are somewhat generic. They're running about $2,000-3,000 a month in profit. And I'd like to see if I can double or triple that. And then if I can, I'll probably flip it. But it's just a matter of continuing to hone my skills, my direct marketing skills, and staying sharp with that. And it doesn't hurt to grab a little passive income when you know what you're doing. So those are the things I'm looking to challenge myself on right now that I'm purchasing. Like one of them in the pet space, and one is actually in the crypto space, believe it or not. So I've done some crypto investment. I can't say that I have any experience with that unless you want to lose money.
Yeah.
I've plenty of experience on losing money.
I've got that experience as well, yeah.
I have a terrible story like many of us of getting Bitcoin early on and then not realizing to even touch or just leave it alone. I had 4 Bitcoins at $600 that I purchased a long time ago back in 2015, and I should have just forgot it, set it and forget it, and let it ride, but I didn't. Those old stories, right?
Very similar to that. I think it was 2017, wasn't it? Just before it peaked at $20,000 per
yeah,
Bitcoin.
People thought that was the end of the story, right?
Yeah, I sold then, and then now it's gone up to triple that or something like that, hasn't it? So
like a 72 last check, 68, I think earlier. 74 at the high here just recently. I don't even understand all this technology yet. I get enough of it to be dangerous. I get the opportunity and the possible opportunity of physical and digital products and as it goes forward. But there are just so many out there to question everything from XRP and its potential to be a standard of financial transfer, or whether Bitcoin will resolve that. And I'm going to limit my experience very fast in this conversation down to I'd like to be able to invest a little more if I knew what the heck I was doing. So I stay with physical products.
So when you're talking about you wanted to get into some smaller brands to be able to test your skills in the marketing side of things, what sort of things are you doing at Voltage Holdings that do help to incubate these smaller brands or medium brands, and how do you then scale that up as it grows?
So I like Amazon as a test marketplace. It has definitely can make startup and growth relatively fast when done correctly. You can still pull profits out of Amazon. I know there's a lot of people complaining today, and they have a right to complain. Amazon fees have gone up dramatically. The inbound fees and outbound fees have changed dramatically. And it's impacting a wide breadth of sellers who have been able to ride Amazon's platform for the last 2, 3, 4 years and ignore all the warning signs that the rest of us have been talking about, and warning them that if you're not running a serious brand, if you're not focused on tightening the ship profitability-wise, cost of goods, continuing to innovate products and push products in the market, and continuing to work the supply chain process in manufacturing, it's going to catch up with you. And if you're not willing to elevate your brand into certain avatars beyond, say, a $30 price point, and expand your product range up in the 50, 150 range and expand out your avatar base, you're going to suffer from the marketplace. And so there's so many sellers in that space who came through maybe courses or programs over the last 5 years who have ran basically decent margins and done okay, and are now going to suffer or go out of business this year because they simply didn't stay profitable in the marketplace. So we've always focused on profitability first, minimum metric of profitability that would allow us to purchase the product, pay ourselves, pay resources, compete through supply chain. And that has proven to be a very strong model for us in the long run, especially through the years of COVID, where prices of containers went from $2,500 to $3,500 to $25,000. It went ridiculous there for a little while. And yet we were still able to sustain that because of the profitability margins we stay focused on. So we always look at the product. We go through what we call our green light process. We've got about 40 data points we look at now that's technology driven, AI driven, algorithmic driven. So we're not making any emotional decisions on products. And so that really helps us spit out product opportunity ideas that we can market test and validate for profitability to growth. And as we see profitability to growth occur, then we can go omni-channel relatively fast. And that allows opportunities from growth and scale. It could be now TikTok shops, which are turning out to be relatively ridiculously huge at the moment. You only got 2% platform fees and they're paying for your shipping. So if you're an Amazon seller not moving to TikTok shop for its opportunity, you're missing the boat. You're not paying attention. And if you've got something against them because the news media has filled your head with crap, that they are Chinese owned, which they're not, you can even go look at all the public record and just got off the news for a minute. Their data storage is all in Texas and their CEO is from Singapore. And yeah, there's questions about their past practices, but Meta, former Twitter, but Google, if you just look around the line, you can pick out problems with every one of these major tech companies. So you just use them as tools and use them for what they are. And right now, TikTok is a huge tool for brand discoverability. So once we find a market test that works and we're going to a full product launch because it shows profitability and upside potential over a 12-month run rate, And that market test turns into what we call a full product launch. We're going to TikTok shops. The SEO organic space of that product, and in fact, we're predetermining products in Amazon that will also back into TikTok, because that's important. Because you may have a product on Amazon you think is really great, or you have a product on Shopify you think is really good in DTC. You take it to another platform with a different buyer psychology, and all of a sudden you can't figure out why it doesn't work, why it won't sell, why you can't get the same price point, why the metrics don't seem to just work. They're not unilateral. Each marketplace has a different psychology of buyer, expecting a different outcome at a different time in a different way, even down to the mechanisms. So you have to be willing to take the time and energy and attention to really focus that correctly. And of course, you'd be preferring to make money in the business before you expand it. But there's a lot of crossover, even up to 25% spillover now from TikTok to Amazon, which is great. So if you do have that lift, you're getting outside organic traffic backwards to Amazon, and the algorithm loves that. And TikTok is becoming highly search driven for the 18 to 35-year-old age group right now. But strangely enough, I was looking at this, and you probably saw this yourself, Daniel, but do you see the largest growing demographic on TikTok right now?
No.
It's 35 to 44. So the older folks are getting onto it extremely fast. And that is allowing, again, that brand discoverability. So as you find that market test that pops off great and has its opportunity to order more units and go to a full product launch, you should definitely open the TikTok channel at the same time and allow that same product search engine spillover to go across that platform, because people who don't trust TikTok shop at this point will go over to Amazon and buy it. So that's becoming a standard platform of operations. It's that and Shopify. If you put those three things together with a direct consumer marketing plan, we've got basically the three locations that most people are going to land on the web somewhere to buy a product. So that's our standard go-to.
Yeah. I really like TikTok Shop at the moment. Actually, we've at Link My Books, we've just created an integration for that, for the bookkeeping side of things. And we've had a lot of customers who've taken some of their products that were doing really well on Amazon, and they've popped them onto TikTok Shop. They've connected with a handful of influencers and created sort of affiliate deals directly inside the platform, which I really like about TikTok Shop, actually. And then they've managed to like sometimes double their sales that they're doing on Amazon. And it makes sense, as you say, they're charging ridiculously low commissions, that they're doing all sorts of promotions all the time for shipping and things like that. And then the fact that you can partner directly with affiliates, it's the new way of doing ads, isn't it?
It really is, because I don't have to do ads yet. When I go over to TikTok, all I have to do is send out a couple thousand messages a day. And by the way, there's bots that can do that now and really hit that affiliate crew. And it takes one of those videos to pop off and do 100K in sales in a 30-day period to prove the organic and SEO. And then all of a sudden the other affiliates catch on. All the other people want to be a part of it, and it goes fast. And that just happened with my partner, Tammy, who leads up our division of TikTok here. She put her products on a new brand over there the other day, and it just blew up. She has basically stocking out by noon every day, and she's producing product as fast as she can go. And her sales on Amazon have got up 3 times what they've been on daily average sales on Amazon. She is scrambling to get additional manufacturing and hiring additional people, and she's in crazy growth mode all of a sudden. So there's a huge opportunity for proven products. And I would definitely say the opportunity right now is Amazon about 2014. So there are products you couldn't sell on Amazon now that you could probably go back and you can, I'll say this out loud. You can go back and sell products that were saturated on Amazon on TikTok right now, but do it in established brands and of course grow that, because that's just a wave. But it is a wave of opportunity to push your brand forward. And then you're going to have to do stronger marketing and direct marketing. And it will turn into a more difficult channel as the time goes along. But it is a huge opportunity right now for those who are getting involved or even just starting a new brand to get those products up on both of those channels, because the spillover opportunity is SEO is great. It's great. It's just a crazy time to watch this explode.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's exactly what we're seeing now. As I say, more and more sellers are testing out TikTok Shop, and then they're doing really well. So yeah, let's do the change. So I read that you have something called the 5-5 Playbook, and that sounds interesting. So do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the 5-5 Playbook is basically just developed out of business building. My partner and I, when I met him in 2011, we were building different businesses. We were business builders. In fact, he's never had a job in his life because he's been an entrepreneur and was a real estate developer and guy who had about $125 million portfolio and fund under his control. And by the time I got to 2012, he's, what do I want to be when I grow up now that I can do whatever I want to do? And so he got involved in e-com, and through a mutual friend, we got connected. He's the right half of my brain, if you will. I'm the left side, so we're very different in our profiles. I am more of the evangelist and the business and builder and the visionary and the leader and kind of the pusher and the guy who jumps off cliffs and just takes risks. He's more of the let's slow down, let's make a list, let's do the process, let's figure things out. So we need each other in that way to push each other's boundaries and manage controls, which has been great. So for more than 11 years, we've been working together. It's a very strong relationship. But in that process, we developed systems, standard operating procedures. We started on Amazon flipping products just to see if we could make it work. And when we did, we quickly realized that brand building is really the way to take advantage of this and to make more profit. So we started to standardize a way to build businesses. And long story short, the playbook was developed out of that and had to get down to ensuring that we could repeat product research and success. What the hell do I sell? And be able to do it repeatedly, not just one-hit wonders, but a product process of defining the product and discovering the product and building a pipeline of products, a really long list of continued products that we could market, test to validate quickly, and then developing the ones profitably and going by the numbers correctly to ensure that when we did launch the products, it would be profitable. We'd have upside potential through branding and reviews and other metrics. We could increase the retail price points, obviously ordering more, we could lower the cost of goods and really increase the profitability of each of these. And so getting into those numbers and determine like, how do we brand the products correctly? How do we make sure somebody discovers the product? How do we go beyond just Amazon, recognizing our brand so that we can extend our brand beyond Amazon? A lot of people argue that you can't do that, but it is true. You can leverage Amazon's trust and authority and familiarity to leverage and launch brands, okay, which is cool. So it's like how to brand and what makes a good brand and how to repeat that process of brandability. And by the way, don't marry your products because there are plenty of them to steal. So there are plenty of ideas. So we got into the realization that part of our process was invention is out the window. It's innovation over invention, and discoverability of innovations doesn't just mean I'm selling a Me Too product. It is I'm actually selling a product with additional value, high perceived value, and continuing to innovate new product ideas through that pipeline. And then, of course, the engine itself is just a giant search engine. And so part of the steps were to learn exactly how to unlock that organic traffic, because that is the holy grail. Now, as we move forward 10 years, you have to buy a lot of PPC today. And many of the more competitive, saturated niches on Amazon will see basically the first 24 listings on the page. Almost all of them under keyword search are now paid ads. There are still areas now where that doesn't happen, but it is happening a lot because Amazon's basically turning into a media distribution company, and it will become the most profitable of their divisions after about 2026. So this is where they're headed as an advertising engine, basically. And so how to get that traffic, how to understand the keywords, how to understand the buyer psychology, how to rank those products and keep them moving so they continued up as an organic growth of rankability, because those are full-priced organic sales. And then how to basically what we call rob the train, which is really strong PPC strategy, can get us to a position where the search engine can validate the rankability, the PPC can add fire to that, and then we've even proven that we can shut off PPC ads completely, and when done organically correctly from the first 30 days forward with a new product, PPC becomes a cruise control, if you will, instead of a gas pedal. Because a lot of brands will require PPC as a gas pedal to keep them going. As soon as PPC shuts off or their ACoS doesn't work right, all of a sudden their sales go down. They've gotten locked into the place where the algorithm has forced them to buy traffic. Where else have we seen that online? Where companies have taken advantage of that? Meta, cough. Where if you start paying for traffic on their pages and stuff, your host, organic is completely gone. Amazon's algorithm has an effect behind it as well. So we always launch organically. We always optimize for search engine first. And then in the 7 and 14 and 21 days after we launch a new product in the system, we're looking for data and validation from the SERP about ranking, product impressions, and clicks and sales, and dialing that in first before we offer any PPC. I know a lot of people go in reverse and they launch PPC from the very beginning, but all they're doing is telling the engine, I'm willing to pay for this. So what they're going to do from that point forward, it's going to force you to pay for it. And you will have a hard time differentiating your SERP engine organic traffic from your paid, and you'll become more dependent on the system for that ASIN. A lot of people don't even understand they've caught themselves in that trap. And the last thing of our playbook is really understanding that when you do all those things right, the business is worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase. And it's what we call our platinum principle. And that's really understanding that these businesses are assets. You build them like you would build a high-end house, and you build it for sale. You build it as an asset. And if you learn how to do that correctly, you can repeat that process, and that can become the business model. So for us, building a business with the end for the exit is the business model. We build to scale and we exit, and we repeat that process over and over again. People are like, why would you want to sell the business? Because inflation. Money right now today is worth more than money tomorrow. If I can go and build a great business, someone wants to pay me 2 or 3 years worth of profit for, and then I take that profit and go back to the market, I'm winning. I can reinvest in other things, other products, other businesses, other people, and then I can go back and do it again. And so we teach people how to take that into a real 3 to 5 year plan, and that builds a 7, multi-7, even 8-figure business when done correctly. And where in the world, Daniel, have we ever in time been able to build an 8-figure business 5 years? That's the world we live in now, and it is crazy to watch.
I know. I've built up and sold 2 7-figure ones, but not 8. But I was speaking to Aaron Cordovez the other day, top 100 Amazon seller, and he was saying that he started with basically the same goals as what I had back in 2014 of, I just want to earn an extra $500 to $1,000 a month just to be able to do some extra things. And now he runs a almost $100 million Amazon business. So I think that it is crazy how quickly these things can scale well out of control.
Yeah, I think people limit the scope, and there's a thing called limiting beliefs. But it's really hard at times to wrap your mind around this. It's hard to wrap it around $1 million in cash. It's incredible to see the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. Throw those numbers around today and you hear them on the media, and everybody else throws them around like they're just, we're adding $1 trillion in America's deficit. Oh, wait, I don't even understand what that means. What's $1 trillion? Like, you just can't fathom the concept of these numbers. I think it's an economic or psychology phrase. I forget exactly where it's defined, but it's called zero stroke, which is basically so many zeros in the numbers you stroke out because you just can't understand the difference. And they witnessed this in other locations where I think it was Zimbabwe, where they had like something, a loaf of bread was like $100 million. People just couldn't count it up, and they were moving money in wheelbarrows, and somebody would ask, how many kids do you have? And he's like, I got 29 billion kids. And I'm like, what? You just can't fathom. So Amazon in its own right has become so large, 28% of the market share. They're moving around 700-800 products a minute. There is just so much traffic, so many people, so much opportunity that people's limiting beliefs, and at times their inability to understand how to grasp it, get it, and wield it, limit the idea that there's opportunity there. And there really is huge amounts of opportunity. The challenge is to do it profitably.
Yeah. And so I think thinking about profitably, actually, one of the questions I was going to ask you on what you've just been talking about now around when after 30 days you're turning off PPC, and that if you don't do that, you're setting on cruise control and saying to Amazon that you're willing to pay for this. Do you think that it depends on the product? Do you think that because your products are so well thought out and because you have been quite innovative, and you've obviously looked at ways to improve the product so that it genuinely does add value to the customer, do you think that those type of products just are much easier to turn the PPC off and rely on the organic traffic?
So to turn it off and then when to turn it on, let's rephrase this so I can make sure I'm clear on what I said. But in the first 7, 21, 30 days of the launch, we won't start PPC unless certain metrics become predefined by the search engine. If we don't see them by the search engine, we need to go through some optimizations first to see if the SERP traffic will dial in to the numbers we expect before we start PPC. And then PPC is basically adding gas to fire, right? It's like we can add additional traffic from what's already optimized. If I go in and start traffic on an unoptimized listing, it's going to basically continue to pull bad data into that listing, and it's going to lower what's called the IDQ score. So I want to keep that IDQ score as high as possible from the very beginning. And if I've done my homework and done 80% of my work correctly from the very beginning before I even launch the listing, I'm set up to optimize a perfect opportunity for a real market test. So then as you go to market and that data looks good and you start the PPC and roll it out, then you're adding that gas to fire. It should add positivity of ranking to organic PPC sales that are purchasable. At some point down the line, you may decide to pull back on PPC as organic is now overtaking 30, 40, 50, 60% of your sales are now being proven to be organic. You can then start to lower down your PPC. You'll lower your cost. You'll lower back the amount you spend and see if organic continues to push up. If it doesn't, you got to keep pushing PPC for a little bit longer while you take over market share. So to get clear on that answer, it really gets down to the kind of product and profitability required to do that in specific areas of Amazon. And you probably covered some of this with Aaron because I'm sure he knows it better than I do. But at the end of the day, there are areas of opportunity in products and competition and areas we play in called nodes, which are Amazon's like leaves on the tree, if you will, Everybody likes to play in departments and categories, and it sounds real sexy because you move a lot of revenue and you move a lot of units. And I really don't care. Those are vanity metrics, right? People will be like, you're only selling 257 of this one product every month. Yeah, but that makes me $2,700. And I've got 10 of those. So the end result is it's not in how many units I move, it's how profitably they move. If I can gain additional market share and move more units profitably, that's a win. But I can also go out and get more and more of that product. I continually remind people, if you've got an iPhone, you've probably got an iPad, you've got the iMac, you probably have the iWatch. If we borrow a trick from retail, we basically put more of the same stuff in a different box. And that is an opportunity that many sellers don't understand, they don't take advantage of, or they just don't hear me when I say it, or they're not doing it because no one's told them. But when you do this correctly, you put more of the same products in different boxes. They already see, do you have a product? Why would they want to buy a different one? You don't understand how the engine works. You don't understand how Amazon works, right? Okay, because I can have 10 of the same products in the marketplace with 10 different variations, all selling at 250 units a month. And they're all going to see new people continuously in the marketplace, right? Amazon's going to show it to new people continuously. That means any other products I have are an opportunity for them to come and buy additional products from me, because Amazon will want them to discover more of my products when they purchase more of my products. And here's the thing, if I'm more profitable, Daniel, than you, and we're competing in the same node, then you have more units than me in stock, and I am still better at the data. I have better metrics, I have better profitability, I have better PPC. I overarchingly look like a better product to this algorithm, but you have more units in stock. I will not overtake you. The algorithm won't let me. Why? Because I'll run out of stock faster. That means the product that's in demand by Amazon will go out of stock, and they actually don't want that to happen because they want it to meet customer demand. So they're going to not let you stock out unless you purposely do it on your own. So they'll throttle you. So the only way for me at some point to outcompete and take your market share is not just to buy the traffic profitably with PPC. It's that if you've got 1,000 units, I need 2,000 units. I'm going to have to level up my units of inventory in Amazon for the algorithm to let me sell more product than you. If I want to take over market share and all of the things considered equal, I am a better data set to a listing engine that's selling products in 30 seconds or less, then it wants to know it can move more inventory. So where's my opportunity? Move more inventory into the marketplace, and then I will overtake your market share. And then when it gets down to the base set, they're not willing to capitalize inventory in a system that is driving inventory. And they limit it by saying, I got 1,000 units. Why can't I sell 7 figures?
I certainly have learned a lot today, because it's been a while since I've been a seller. It was 2018 when I sold up. And I think that I never really thought about that you need to have enough inventory to be there. I knew that obviously from our point, if we rank higher, then we're going to sell more products. I knew from that point, but I never really thought that it took that into account.
If I have my quality of data, my IDQ score, my conversion, my CTR, my CV, my AOV is lower than yours, and I put more inventory in, the algorithm isn't going to sell more of my product. You have to understand it's a data-driven business profitability engine. It is looking to push the best products at the highest volume to make the most money it can off those products. If you aren't in line with that engine, then you are basically pushing against it. I see more than half of the sellers that come to me and talk about their products and their business and wondering why they can't grow and why they're stagnating and why prices are killing them and why they're out on X complaining continuously. They are simply fighting an engine that they want it to do something it doesn't do. Then they're not willing to do what it wants. Give it what it wants and it will reward you. We just stop fighting it. And a lot of that literally gets down to mindset and limiting beliefs. Some of them may be listening to me going, oh, that's not true. That's fine. But I've moved a lot of product and a lot of brands in the last 10 years. And I can tell you I'm pretty confident in what I know.
Yeah. No, I'm just reading as well that you recently published a book, Almost Automated Income with FBA. So tell me a little bit about that.
So we spent the better part of a year putting together the book. It's experts that have been on my podcast speaking to the different aspects of Amazon's playbook that we follow, the 5x5 playbook. And so they are experts in their own right in their own business, but we tied that conversation into my podcast, and then each podcast is a different chapter. So there are about 15 different experts speaking into the series of our playbook in line with their understanding and their own expertise. And we compiled that together in the book. So it follows our playbook. And the honor of Kevin Harrington, who's my mentor from the past and someone I've worked with closely in business, right to forward, which is cool. because he's done a lot of business in the physical space, and I respect him greatly and what he knows about this, because he's done a lot more than me in sales and business, which is awesome. And so I got to get him to write the foreword. But look, it's been a good book. It's hit the #1 release a couple times on Amazon. It's gone out. I think we've got quite a few positive reviews on it now, which is cool. And we've been pushing it forward, and probably will have a second release from my podcasts in the last year, when we probably do volume 2 here eventually. So it's been fun, and it's been nice to get that out there, and it gives people some insight, those who like to read and want to understand what's going on. It doesn't just speak from my language, it speaks from the language of 15 other experts in this space who I know are doing what they say they can do. And so it culminates all their experience as well.
Yeah. What a good idea, actually. Instead of having to write it all yourself, doing it in recorded podcasts, and then you've got, as you say, the expertise from not just one person, but 15 people.
And we pulled out the different conversations and questions from the podcast that they were featured in that basically tie into their expertise that basically falls into our playbook.
So looking at Amazon product sales as a whole, how saturated do you think the marketplace is? We talked a little bit about TikTok being an opportunity. Do you think if I was a new seller today, what would you tell me to do?
Yeah, Amazon first. Absolutely. With 28% of the market share, TikTok is huge, and it can reach millions of people on a video that can last for 2 days. Amazon is something that has just been a juggernaut, and it stays a juggernaut. It's become a standard location for people to get products to their house. It's become a known that it is in fact, it's just an operational miracle. The whole thing works in the first place from top to bottom. So really, I take people there first, and we use it as a discovery platform from product intent, since there are 150 million buyers on there. And if you want to find out where the buyers are, and you want to know what they're buying, and you want to look at the data that proves what they're buying, then Amazon's a great place to start. So definitely we can incubate that. Innovating products and profitability above certain price points keeps us out of saturation. Even keeps us out of high competition niches. Like, we won't go into electronics for that reason. We won't go into beauty and supplements on the mouth or in the skin. Too saturated. And there's big companies in there messing around. I'll stop there. And then there is just clothing is cool. They've tried to expand the clothing by reducing the Amazon fees for people who want to sell POD or clothing on it. But at the same time, that's pretty saturated, and you have to be pretty unique, and your price points are sub $20. So with us playing in the 50 to 150 range, we're typically in areas, we have about 125 nodes that we've identified, and nodes are just basically a section of the filing system, if you will, that is where brands really play at the end of the day. So most of our competition is true brand oriented. And so we're in the real competition of branding and solution oriented products. And so we do quite a bit of research up front, and trademark research and patent research to ensure the market test of the product. And then most importantly, if it's profitable, then growth and scale are an opportunity. If it's not profitable, then all we're moving is revenue and units per a day. And a lot of people focus on that, and they all end up in the same locations using the same tools that all push them into the same saturated or highly competitive niches. So definitely Amazon, provability to the market. Moving to TikTok, as I mentioned earlier, is your next step. And then getting brand discoverability for those products and affiliates on them as fast as possible creates a really good opportunity. And quite frankly, it's stupid simple in 2024. The bar is so low for those who want to take action. It's incredible. People yell that there's no opportunity, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Try something, right? Be okay with failing a few times. And what's failure mean? It just means that certain metrics didn't meet expectations, and you can't go buy a Lambo yet. But it doesn't mean you didn't sell. It doesn't mean you didn't have opportunity. It just means you haven't dialed it in yet. And keep reminding people that perseverance and tenacity and grit are the 3 things that a business owner will win at, from somebody who's brand new moving into an entrepreneurial space, like building a business for the first time. And then someone who's really a business person who really operates more at the operational level, the daily, weekly, monthly level, is now I'm no longer an entrepreneur. I've discovered what I want to do. I'm a business owner. And we train people to become CEO and operators. We train them how to go from never having any experience in this marketplace to learning everything. And in the first year, becoming a good CEO operator of a company that has a 3 to 5 year lifespan. It's very important for me. We don't do that with everybody. I interview everybody myself. I don't have a marketing team. I don't bring in 50, 100 people a month. I bring in 5 to 7 if I find them to be qualified. If I don't, then I will just simply say, this is not a good fit. Thanks for checking it out. Maybe come back later. And I raise the bar on the consulting fees so that it's not available for everybody, quite frankly, because I don't have enough time, energy, attention myself to run my own companies, to work with what we're doing in business and our holdings company. And buying and acquiring these companies than to spend a lot of time with people who don't want to do it correctly or aren't serious. And so I only weed out those who are very serious about building a business. And then we put them on a 7 and 8 figure plan for 3 to 5 years.
Wow. How much of the exit plan do you think revolves around the branding? What do you think about the multiples? How different do you think the multiple can be? Because when I sold mine, to be completely honest, I had 3 brands, but then my second company, I realized that I was just going to go after blockbusters. It was the golden age of Amazon. I knew that I could launch products, follow a certain path. So I put all that money into just launching like 25 products that was not related. And I didn't really see great difference in the multiples at that point. How do you see the market now? Is it much more brand oriented?
It has changed and has gone to much more discernment in the purchasing and multiples because we went through that aggregator phase and then they've all imploded. And we started raising capital, I did in 2019, and I had investment firms come to us and were just throwing stupid money at us. And in 2 years, we were through the process of determining who we would want to partner with. And we're getting ready to pull the trigger in 2021. And we had 2 home offices with 50 million in capital behind us. And we were going to purchase about 53 properties. Something shifted in about November. My partner called me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's just like, hey, you got to look at these numbers. And so we had the come to Jesus meeting, if you will, in November, decided, oh crap, that is not going to work. We have to stop. And so we stopped. We basically had some indicators that were saying market prices at 30 to 40% above current acquisition meant that they were simply just buying what they could acquire at whatever multiple they could get it from just to get market share. So that proved out to be true. And we didn't take the capital. So you go fast forward 3 or 4 years, and now they're blowing up. They can't operate the businesses. They never could properly. That was one of our biggest concerns. They had 180 job recs open at some of these places just to fill warm bodies because they couldn't get the operators. Because if you think about it, Daniel, if someone's running the company properly, they're not going to go operate somebody else's. So most of the experience they had could not run these companies. And so most of them are imploding, selling off, bankrupting, or restructuring. So long story short, that created a huge multiple expectation in the marketplace that has now fallen off. So if you're still seeing some of these businesses out here pushing 4x on an Amazon only channel, and it's not going to happen. If they're going to get 2.5 to 3.2 roughly out of that single channel Amazon, they're going to be doing pretty good. And if they're going to get closer to that 3.2, they're going to have more than 20% net profit in the business to even get close to that. In fact, we're not even looking at businesses today to purchase that don't have multiple channels. They must have multiple channels of sales in them. So that's one of the other things that's changed. People were buying crazy multiples on single Amazon only channels.
And they didn't even want extra channels, did they? They wanted just Amazon.
They just wanted Amazon, and that's cool because it had its opportunity. And I think their intent, at least 1 or 2 of them, was to simply just buy as much market share for whatever possible with the intent to eventually restructure that, knowing they couldn't sustain it. It almost seemed like a business strategy now that you look at it in hindsight. And so they did buy the market share. Now they stabilized and they'll probably set on their restructuring and see how that works. It's screwed with the multiples, right? So in realistic terms, if you've got a 3x on your Amazon FBA only channel, you are either playing in the friends, family, or fool space because that's not a viable metric anymore. It is viable to see 2.7 or more for a good channel. If it's got omni-channel, you can see 3 to 5x for those omnis. If you are pushing closer to that 20% net profit with omni-channels, email, a database, and additional social media and stuff, and done a really good job of rounding that brand out, then you can see 5 to 10x on your business. In certain markets, people are willing to pay a lot more. I had a guy come in the other day and he's like, we were offered 15x because we're the top 1% number 4 seller in our market in Mexico. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I want to get into America, and that's a whole nother beast. Like America is not the same as 50 times the competition and a lot more challenges, and crushing it in secondary markets on Amazon is great and should be done at some point if you feel like it's what you want to do with your business strategy. Quite honestly, we don't mess with any of the other Amazon marketplaces. We go to the .com only and then move into the omni channels beyond the .com. So again, you could see higher multiples. And if they have subscriptions, this is the last point, Daniel, if they have subscription base, if they got subscribers on Amazon and they've managed to pull Shopify together and build additional revenues, maybe they got a box or some other subscription model set up, that's easily 10 to 12x. You can hit SaaS level opportunities if they've got revenue streams of growth that are not just single purchase, but multi-purchase. in subscribe and save, as well as subscription-based models. And there are other marketplaces. They're definitely worth a lot more money.
Yeah, makes sense though. I think that having a lot more eggs spread out between many baskets is only a good thing. I know that the aggregators didn't want it like that, but I think that I was speaking to Ben Leonard. He was on our first episode of this podcast, and he sold his brand to Thrasio, and now he's potentially looking at buying it back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now I'm going to have to call Ben and ask him what he's doing. I've been talking to him a little bit. He helped me promote my book launch.
Yeah, he launched a book as well, didn't he? Yeah, so he sold his brand to Thrasio, and then they wrecked it, and now he wants to buy it back so that he can build it back up in public, which I think would be quite a good experiment, if I'm honest.
Oh, absolutely, because he's an operator. So I guarantee you, if he gets it for probably pennies on the dollar back from them and as a distressed property, he'll go right back in and turn it around in 12 months, and it'll become a great business again.
Yeah. He called them out on LinkedIn asking them for them to do that. My business partner also sold his to Thrasio, and they wrecked his as well.
They just didn't know how the operations. That's one of the other things outside of the market multiples that were way too high of 40% above normal asking price. We just, as operators ourselves, having operational daily, weekly, monthly and growth in this business and been in it long enough, there's just no way they can sustain the operations of that many business. We had operators we had trained for years inside of our company that had built businesses alongside of us that are dedicated to the process, who we knew could run these businesses and could run them successfully. And we were going to give them a percentage of profit to bring them along to keep them involved as operators. So we felt very confident that we could handle a business growth by business growth metric, knowing we had operational and intellectual capital on board to make those actually run. If we had just tried to go hire people off the street, this would have failed. It would have just failed. And there was just throwing a warm body in a chair and being like, here, push buttons on PPC. It's a nightmare. It's like disaster. It's putting a 12-year-old behind a car at 70 miles an hour and being like, here, drive a car. Like, they're just going to wreck.
I think the other thing is that they forget that the people who started these businesses, the founders who've run them for, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they were really passionate about their brands, and they really tried hard to get everything there, and they knew the business inside out. And then now they're taken over by some bot in a seat, and they are now running 5, 10, 15 of these companies as one, and they're just not as invested. They're not as passionate about making them a success.
They couldn't keep it attached to each of the details at the level of the operator, who had basically battle hardened themselves into that longevity in the business. At that point, you're right. They simply couldn't operate at the level of control.
Yeah, no, it's not a great thing. Okay, I think we're running a little bit out of time now, so I've got 2 final questions for you. One is, what can e-commerce professionals who are already selling on, let's say, multi-channel, what's the one thing that you would recommend them to do to increase profitability this week?
Negotiate additional supply chains with additional manufacturers. I see so many times these businesses get really comfortable with maybe 1, possibly 2 manufacturers, and they don't continue the process of manufacturing, vetting, and validation to find additional product quality types, additional better partners, or redundancy in their partner channels. I see it in the larger operations we're evaluating right now. They'll come in with 5, 10, 20 million in business with 1 manufacturer. Whoa, that's just not going to fly. Like, we have to find a second and third manufacturer to support the growth and stability of this model. I see many of them not doing that. And at that same point, I see many of them not negotiating properly with their manufacturers. So they're losing and leaving money on the table because they're not willing to negotiate performance-based goals at certain levels in their business with those manufacturers. I don't know if they think they can't do it, or they think the manufacturer will fire them. It's not going to happen if they're running a lot of business. And so they're not setting terms properly, right? They're not setting the 30, 60, 90-day, or even 120-day terms on products that they could do for their larger shipments. They're simply not negotiating hard enough to keep cash flow moving in the business properly and spreading out terms. And with real manufacturer partners, they'll be willing to do that. You just have to ask and negotiate. So I would definitely say get that supply chain dialed in, other than retail price point increasing or additional reviews or additional support in the marketplace from other brands to increase brand awareness or brand viability in the marketplace. You're going to have to get it from your cost of goods. You have to get it from your manufacturing side to increase that profitability. And I see many people not taking that opportunity.
Yeah, and I can firsthand vouch for that, because when I was selling back in the day, took out a second manufacturer who actually ended up being a lot less expensive, who produced an equally good product. And it also helped in cases, like you say, when we needed quick turnarounds of large volumes of product. We now had 2 manufacturers to go to. And then I also agree with the terms thing in terms of cash flow, because I think, again, personally, that was one thing that held me back in terms of to expand the business out when you've got loads of ideas of products to run. Back in the day when Amazon wasn't doing lending, it was a cash flow problem. That was the limitation for my business, was not necessarily not having enough products to launch. It was not having the cash to be able to launch them.
And so many people fall into that problem and don't realize that's really their opportunity cost with Amazon. It's not that getting started. It's not that you can't find products. It's not that processes like ours and stuff won't work. It's that if you're not mentally prepared to do what it takes to grow to the next level, you will stagnate the business. The business will say it's time to go. And mentioned earlier, you've got to level up that inventory. You got to level up that growth. And all of a sudden, you don't have the capitalization experience or the risk level to do that. You have stagnated the business opportunity. You have caused it to back up. And this is where we get into mindset over metrics. Because you can have all the metrics you want all day long, but if you're not willing to act on it, if you are fear and risk and limiting beliefs won't let you move, then you're going to be stuck. And if you got the cash flow growth opportunity and you can get the terms right, okay, then you can get the inventory on board and level up while you're taking that risk and spreading it over time. So it's one of the ways you can actually do that better. And to your point, yeah, you were over the target. It's just a matter of getting that cash flow moving, and that comes down to amount of product you can move at the end of the day.
Yeah. And the best thing I ever did was sold the first brand, got a whole load of cash, and then I could launch all my products.
Build a brand, sell a brand, grow a brand, sell the whole company. Yeah, we've done talk about that, multi-branding opportunities. If you think, and by the way, you can sell one product, one brand, and then replicate that product and brand and change the avatar with the same manufacturer and do it again. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but we do this all the time. You can create 2 or 3 brands in one marketplace where whether they go down and choose one of them, they're choosing yours. And it's the same product and a different packaging and a different avatar and the same manufacturer.
Yeah. The retail companies have been doing that for years.
Yeah, we started doing that about 7 years ago. And that's one of the fastest ways you can get growth to scalability, is to multi-brand existing products back into the same marketplace. Sell more of the same to people in different packaging.
Okay. Last question. Who in the world of e-commerce would you most like to take to lunch to pick their brain?
Who in the world of e-commerce would you most likely take to lunch to pick their brain? Holy crap, dude. That's a great question. I don't have an answer. Who should I take to lunch?
I'm so glad you didn't say Jeff Bezos. The amount of people Jeff Bezos.
He's not even in the business anymore. He's not in e-commerce, but I'd love to have lunch with Musk just to talk to him a little bit, just to get his brain going. He's not in e-commerce. Can I say Elon Musk? Does that count? I guess I would say him because that'd be cool to talk to him. I'm not big into the investment side of the Wall Street stuff, so I really wouldn't have anything to talk to Warren Buffett about. And yeah, Bezos doesn't even do the business anymore, so that's probably behind it. So
maybe Ben Leonard by the sounds of it as well.
Yeah, I need to call Ben. That's who I need to talk to. Yeah, that's awesome. Good question.
Thank you very much for your time today. One last question. I know I said that was the last question. This is the last one. It's just, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about your programs and about your company and just ask you some questions, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yep. So it is Voltage Digital Marketing. That's voltagedm.com to go check out what's going on. We have both brand new businesses and existing business tracks with us from both the consulting and coaching and mentoring. There's a free video to check out on how we go through that process of building to exit. And there's a blog and podcast and newsletter and all kinds of things to check out to see what we're doing in the market. Or Google me, Neil Twa. They can't miss me. I'm all over the social media web. So that is my last name. It is only 3 letters. So usually people find me pretty easy, and you're welcome to connect with me on any one of those platforms.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for your time today, Neil.
Thanks for having me on. It's been an honor.
The e-commerce profitability show is brought to you by Link My Books. To find out more about Link My Books and how to accurately automate your e-commerce bookkeeping to ensure profitable growth, visit linkmybooks.com and then make sure to search for e-commerce profitability in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Link My Books, thanks for listening.